Thank you very much. It's very tough for me to come after all those great people and a great knowledge that you have accomplished today, and also becoming before your break. So I think knowing this, I decided not to really get into the speeches, but rather than really use it to really give you some, if you would like, insights, remarks, that some of those you have already seen or heard about, but I'm hoping that some you will maybe find it interesting and then maybe take it forward. So first of all, let me thank Sufan Center for always being in the front line, tackling issues ahead of the game, which are really very important, not only from a security perspective, but from a humanity perspective, if you would like, because disinformation, even though it is really a very old thing, it's not a new phenomena or a new thing. I think it's there since we've been as a human on the ground. I think the technology contributed into maybe 2 or 3 very important elements that made the disinformation and the fake news, if you would like, an issue or a problem. One, which is the magnitude, which is really your ability to reach huge or large number of people in a very quick manner that was not really possible in the past. So now your misinformation, your fake news can transfer through political borders, geographical borders, everything. This is due to the technology. The second, which is I think also was really a key, is related to the ability of individual to be able to create fake news and misinformation, which usually used to be, if you would like, more needed a media outlet or an organization. But now, as a person, you can create a story, disseminate that using social media, and suddenly you will find that they're really propagating the entire world and causing maybe some certain of noise. And I think the third one is the pure technological capability of really making that fake news so complex that you cannot really tell the truth from the fake ones. So those 3, I think, which came with technology, created that magnitude of where we are right now. I think the question that we are all battling with is, what can we do? And let me share with you at least my personal way of looking at it, which may be an awkward way, but I think it's worth mentioning. From somebody who's been in universities and teaching, I tend to use a lot of analogy when I speak to the people. And today I'm going to use one of those analogies, which is, if you take a look at bacteria, viruses, all of those will continue to be on the ground forever. And we will be mistaken if we are assuming that one day we will be able to wipe and we will have a clean place to live in. Those germs, bacteria, viruses, whatever you would like to call them, if you would like to make the analogy, they can be something like harmful to the human being, to the body, similar to what, if you would like, the misinformation or the fake information can have on countries, on humans, on organizations. So what do we do with them? I think what we need to do is to build the immunity rather than only to think about what can we do in stopping. You need to immune the society, you need to immune your people toward fake news. And how we do this, it's, I think, the key issue. I think this is an area where I think a lot of us overlook, which is the ethics or the values of people, because this is where you can start working and can tackle, if you would like, on a very long term, the fake news or the misinformation. You will never be able to stop it, because no matter how technologically you work to build filters, the people who are creating the news will create a much sophisticated tools that can pass through your filters. So it will always going to be, a running up game rather than really dealing with the issue. So building on the ethics, trying to focus in building the ethics of the people, trying to really build that feeling of try to really verify news. Try to really understand what's going on. Do not take things for granted. Use your values, whether you should spread this or not. Because you need to place where you can stop that vicious cycle. You want somebody who received that news to stop spreading it. So what's the role of the higher education institutes and the education institute in that sphere. And to me, will go into maybe 3 or 4 dimensions. One, which is we already spoke about, and a lot of people in the conference will be speaking about, which is the technological elements, how we can really facilitate the ability of really dealing with the fake news, how we can build more filters that we can stop it, how we can strengthen our cybersecurity, how we can deal with all this. Second, which is also of an equivalent importance, is policies, because you need to create a policy frameworks within not only the country, but in the international community. Because as we have heard today, there is a lot of those misinformation that are used to really manipulate countries or building a warfare around them or against them, not being, if you would like, dealt with on the international community. Nobody is really saying this is wrong, you cannot do this, you need to stop. So there is a need for a policy framework, not only on the national level, but on the international level. Of course, with the policy framework, you need the legal framework, where you need to really have a clear definition about how do you deal with people who are initiating, dealing with this, spreading, and creating the fake news. And finally, which is really the most important for us as an educator, is going back into building the values of our students, not only from their ability of critical thinking and verifying news, but their ability of values, their values related to how they really look at things from the true perspective. What's their ethics that they are using when they are reading the news? What values they are using to comprehend, and how they can really look and verify and cross-reference and try to do their job in order for them to really distinguish between facts and fake, if you would like. And there is always that connection that we as a university miss on, which is the community. Remember that fake news or misinformation propagate much, much faster and on a much larger magnitude, depending on your ability to comprehend and your literacy level. And if we recall, and we have a huge number of even illiterate people in the Middle East. Imagine that this person who is not really able to read and write, not even being able to cross-reference, receiving this information which is fake, what would happen in his mind and what impact it will have. This, I think, put a lot of effort, a lot of pressure on universities to leave their spaces and get into the community, because their role is not only to deal with their students, not building the ethical value with their students, not building the media literacy on their students, not building the critical thinkings for their students only, but actually to really try to take this into the community, because this is where I think your safeguard is for the entire country. I think, again, to conclude, I cannot stress enough about the values and the ethical elements of that fight against the fake news. If you take a look at all the technological development that's happening right now, whether it's AI, whether it's stem cells, whatever you would like to name it, you will find that a lot of the challenges coming into those areas are not the technological challenges. It's the ethical elements associated with it. And in order for us to deal with even the specific of the fake news, we need really to go back and focus about our value and our ethics. Thank you very much, and I hope that I did not take a lot of your time.